The Bitch is a 1979 film directed by Gerry O'Hara. This is written by Gerry O'Hara based on The Bitch by Jackie Collins. And I watched this because John Ratzenberger is in it. It's probably not the kind of film I would have watched regardless. And it's also worth pointing out, and I didn't know this until I started watching it. I started watching it and pulled up the Wikipedia page and IMDb and realised that it's actually a sequel to the film The Stud, which I haven't seen. So everything I'm going to say, take with a pinch of salt because I haven't seen the first film, but I do have a lot of praise for the film and I was able to follow what was happening. So the point there is that if there's a reason why you want to watch this, such as John Ratzenberger, you absolutely can. You don't need to have watched The Stud, but I'm well aware that maybe my experience would have been different had I seen the first film, but absolutely to follow this film, that doesn't need to be the case. But obviously, again, take what I'm saying with a pinch of salt. This is about a character called Fontaine, who is played by Joan Collins, and without going into too much detail, she starts to have problems with a lot of the men in her life and people who are trying to go after her and her property. She owns this disco and she's a very well-written character. For me, yes, the narrative is good. We have a lot of different characters. We have a lot of, obviously, obstacles that she has to overcome and a lot of problems with different relationships and, as I said, the men who are in her life. But for me, it was more about the character of Fontaine. I thought she was very well written, a really great performance from Joan Collins, which obviously is not a surprise. And I found her to be really, really fascinating. Is she fascinating enough that I now want to go and watch The Stud? Not immediately. I might eventually, because I do like the character. I have no idea what The Stud is actually about. I haven't looked into it. But the character here is definitely, for me, the driving force behind the narrative. It's very much her story, and everything that happens around her is interesting, but I was more interested in her personality. So the narrative does work well. There are a lot of layers, there's a lot going on, but it never felt too cluttered or too busy or anything like that. So I'd say from start to finish, it's a pretty engaging narrative. I was worried I wouldn't be able to follow it once I learned that I hadn't seen the first film. And I can say that that is absolutely not a real concern because it was easy to follow everything. Sure, I am willing to admit that had I seen the first film, I might have had a stronger emotional connection to the character. There may be things in the narrative that maybe would mean a little bit more to me, but certainly I never felt like I was confused about what was happening. So I guess my advice would be, by all means, watch it if you're curious, but I'd also say maybe watch the first film. I don't know if the first film's any good, but certainly I'd say it is probably worth watching. But that being said, I thought The Bitch was an interesting experience, driven mostly by the character of Fontaine and with Joan Collins' performance, but the narrative itself is still pretty decent. So I recommend it, but take my recommendation with a pinch of salt. I would say if you have The Stud, check it out. Maybe it's a better experience. But I can say that The Bitch was still a decent experience, and if it appeals to you, I'd say maybe it's worth watching.